Hey, honey, do you hear that? A crisp that melts? That ain't natural.
Weird city.
Crispy things don't melt, they crunch. Fact of life. What do you say, Crispo?
Crunch!
Oh, my beautiful home.
Well, just maybe.
Frizzly on my tongue. Wow!
Melt City! Hey, soften up, soften up.
Yeah, liquidize.
One of the responsibilities of parenthood is to lie to your children. Often this is for good reason, but sometimes it's just to be a bit of a dick. The meanest lie I told to my son was that skips were exactly the same as quavers. It's just that someone was paid to draw a bunch of red lines on them with a felt tip pen. I got to eat the entire packet that day, and it ensured that both they and Frazzles were protected from his grasping mitts until he got old enough to realise that all his trust in me had been misplaced. Ha, sucker. He's going to murder me in my sleep one day, but I got to eat crisps, so you could say it sort of equals out. But yes, skips. What are they? And who is this fella? Well, skips were originally released by KP Snacks in 1974 and are tapioca starch treats that taste of prawn cocktail and melt on your damn tongue. Well, I say that, but the Tato-produced version of skips, produced for Irish markets, are made from maize starch instead, so don't be surprised if your brain gets a bit confuzzled by the texture if you're necking a pack in County Donegal. Both the Tato and KP Snack variants are now owned, along with their parent companies, by German company Intersnack. Other flavours were available for a short time, but now you'll just have to cope with prawn cocktail and bloody like it. The snack has been the principal sponsor of Dragon's Fury, a roller coaster at Chessington World of Adventures, which makes sense as the E numbers in that red felt tip line can cause anger issues in fictional flame-gobbing reptiles. It's true, I'm going to tell my son that one tomorrow. Adverts for skips have featured big old unit British wrestling legend Giant Haystacks. They've also featured a terrifying anthropomorphic tongue voiced by Craig Charles, just look at that thing, and Daniela Denby-Ash. Now, if you don't remember Daniela Denby-Ash, she was the actress from 90s EastEnders and the 2000s comedy series My Family, who I really fancied for a while in a moment of girl next door realism from me, which I felt bore better likelihood of results than, say, fancying Natalie Portman. The end result was still the same, an injunction not to be within 10 miles of either woman and a command to give them back their stolen washing line smalls. The other most famous representative in their adverts was the star of this game, that being Clumsy Colin. He was not, though, as you might suspect, an original character, as he was actually a featured character in Buster Comics. If you don't remember Buster, it's sort of a long-forgotten, crapper version of the Dandy and the Beano, but Clumsy Colin didn't really last very long as the mascot of Skips either. But obviously he was around long enough to be the star of the Action Biker video game. Action Biker released on the ZX Spectrum, the Atari 8-bits and Commodore 64 in 1985 for the princely sum of £1.99. £1.99. What a bargain. Or was it? Well, that depends. You see, there are two versions of this game. The Commodore 64 and Atari version, which sees you steer around an unpopulated stark isometric landscape collecting the required equipment to enter a drag race. The other version is the ZX Spectrum one, which has Colin shifting his butt around a top-down suburbia collecting parts to add to his bike to unlock other sections of the map as he attempts to track down his good pal Marty. Which one of these action biker games is the good one, though? It's not this one. After an impressive 3 different loading screens, including obviously one that hawks the starchy snacks themselves, you get to play Action Biker on the ZX Spectrum. I suspect that very much like Pushover and the Muncher, that the snack sponsorship was added after development had already started. The loading screen that doesn't feature much in the way of Colin or skips is a good indicator that this is the case. There are at least collectible packets of skips on the road in the Spectrum version of Action Biker, something that doesn't feature in the Commodore 64 and Atari version. Your adventure starts in what is presumably Colin's Road, and you have to find his pal Marty, who could be anywhere in Colin's town. He could be on an island, he could be in a strangely eclipsed dark part of town that's never explained, and for you to find him and to access those areas, you're going to have to track down a variety of parts for your bike, which you may be able to find by going into numerous semi-detached houses that line the leafy suburb in which Colin resides. So what is it that makes this game underwhelming? Well, it's very jerky in its scrolling, as you can see. It hurts to stare at it for too long. Then there's the randomly placed nature of the other road users who occupy the entire width of the street, meaning you can't drive round them, and they drain your sleepometer as you overlap their vehicles. For some reason, you see, Colin is asleep, so presumably this whole thing is a dream. Anyway, if your sleep meter is completely drained, that's your game done, and you'll have to start back at the beginning. At times, though, the other vehicles and all the oil patches that drain your health are so close together, you'll end up having your entire health drained in seconds, and we'll have to start this whole process all over again. This, coupled with the looseness of the controls and the tightness of the maze-like roads, ensure that you'll be in for a hell of a time, probably as miserable as a packet of skips being poured in your anal cavity, which will then be followed up by someone else forcing rats into your bumhole to eat them. That said, if you get used to the game and get to learn its quirks and the location of the pieces that you need, you can actually finish this entire game in about 5 minutes. Not sure that that's value for money even for $1.99 personally. Sinclair User reviewed Action Biker in September 1985. They gave it a 1 star out of 5 and said, let's kill this off instantly by refusing to buy such garbage. Software like this gives junk food a bad name. Oof. The 3 reviews of Action Biker in your spectrum were just as brutal, with 2 3 out of 10s and 1 2 out of 10. They said, okay, it's cheap, but that doesn't mean it has to be nasty all the time. It will keep you occupied as long as it takes you to eat a bag of crisps. So we know that the Commodore 64 and Atari game is better than this Spectrum one. But seeing as how bad that Spectrum version is that just faint praise? Well, not really, no. It's not particularly deep, but it's perfectly serviceable. As previously mentioned, this isometric landscape is quite the lonely place. A lonely place full of all manner of obstacles that will knock you off your bike and put poor Colin on his leather-clad butt. You start at a petrol station which you must return to whenever your tank looks a little bit parched. Scattered around are all manner of clothes for the clumsy one to don and equipment to soup up his all-terrain two-wheeler. Yes, you can go off-road, and that's where the goodies are, but there are a lot of bins and fences all over the place, and those things will knock you off your bike. The pieces are picked up one at a time, with a points boost given if you collect this equipment in double quick time. The issue is that the further you go, the harder it is to reach each of these parts, as they are precariously balanced on things such as the top of a roller coaster track or in pens that are only accessible by ramp. The fiddly controls present a unique challenge at times, and these obstacles make it so difficult to stay upright for the daredevil doofus. You get 5 lives, do your best. The small locale loops so you can drive forever and not escape, like it's a nightmarish episode of the Twilight Zone. Not the Twiglet Zone, that's a different snack. Graphically, everything but the main sprite is pretty sharp looking. The music is another Rob Hubbard jaunty earworm, and you'll be humming it probably a week later, which will make you look a right dick if you do it at a funeral. So my personal advice to you is do not play this game to cheer yourself up. if you've got a relative seriously ill in hospital. The game itself is good fun. The combination of the fiddly controls and the old perspective can make it difficult when you start, but it's not an alienating experience at all. It demands you keep trying, that you play again until you secure that set of gloves or that helmet. It's compulsive fun, and at £1.99 it's excellent value for a 1985 spotty oik. The Commodore 64 version is probably the better out of the two versions of this, but both are streets ahead of that Spectrum version. The August 1985 Zap 64 gave it an 83% and declared it a good game at a low price. Can't be bad. The same month, CMVG told us that it's an excellent budget price piece of software. At £1.99, you would be nuts to miss it. A 9 out of 10 from them. The August 1985 Commodore user gave it the full 5 stars for value, telling us that you can reach for your hard-earned £1.99 with confidence. So there you go. You can skip one, but not the other. See what I did there? I'm sure you did. Staying on the 8-bits for our next venture, and indeed on the saddle of a throbbing machine between our legs as we let Eddie Kidd do his crazy tricks above us. Like, subscribe. Okay, thanks, bye.